Recycling plastics from trash to treasure with the RePLAST-OECS pilot plastic recycling project brought to you by Unite Caribbean with support from the French Republic and CATS GIZ.
Be a hero. Reuse and recycle plastics. Our world today is plagued with issues related to pollution, more specifically plastic pollution. This is more of a challenge for us in the Caribbean with a dependency on tourism. The plastic waste not disposed of properly gets into our oceans and put our marine life at risk. Starly Pelage sits with Mr. Ronald Roach, Waste Management Specialist with the RePLAST-OECS project. In addition to the 2 R's of reuse and recycle promoted by the project, Mr. Roach also highlights the role of a 3rd R, reduce, in the fight against plastic pollution.
So, Mr. Ronald Roach, how much plastic waste is in the Caribbean?
So, because the Caribbean is highly tourist-oriented, we import a lot of materials in plastic packaging, which eventually has to be disposed of. We import materials both for ourselves and for the tourists that visit. So, on a per-person basis, the Caribbean is one of the highest producers of plastic waste in the world. We generate about 13 million tons of waste per year, of which 13% are plastics. So this works out to 1.78 million tons of plastic per year. And just to put that in perspective, that is about the weight of 4,000 jumbo jets of plastic generated each year in the Caribbean alone.
So, how much plastic waste is there in Saint Lucia?
Well, in Saint Lucia, approximately 20% of the waste that is generated is plastic. This is equivalent to about 15,000 tons of plastic every year. So it works up to a lot of plastic, and a large proportion of this is known as single-use plastics, which are plastics that are used only once and then discarded. So items such as soft drink bottles, plastic forks and spoons, plastic straws, and plastic grocery bags are single-use plastics.
Can you explain why plastic waste is unhealthy for both our land and our oceans?
The reality is plastic is a very versatile material, but unfortunately the properties that make plastics useful also make them problematic. So plastics are cheap and lightweight and they do not degrade easily. So because of that, they often accumulate in the environment on the land and in the sea. On the land, it will collect rainwater and serve as breeding ground for mosquitoes, promoting mosquito-borne diseases such as dengue and chikungunya. And in the ocean, it directly affects marine life as thousands of seabirds, turtles, other marine animals are killed after ingesting it or becoming entangled in it. They are also ingested by fish and make its way up the food chain, ultimately affecting our human health.
How does it affect Saint Lucia in particular?
Well, the truth is plastic waste is affecting the pristine beauty of Saint Lucia. This can have very negative impacts on the economy by reducing the tourism potential of the island. Many tourists visit the island because of its natural beauty and crystal clear waters. And as the country becomes increasingly littered with plastics, the lure to tourists is diminished. Less visitors mean that there's less income coming in and less opportunities for employment.
Okay. Name some impacts of plastic pollution we should be aware of.
Plastic impacts our human health, it impacts wildlife, and it impacts the environment. So as regards to our human health, the World Health Organization published research in 2018 that exposed the presence of microplastics in 90% of bottled water. The tests of which revealed only 17 were free of plastics out of 259 that were tested. These microplastics can impact our human health in ways that we may not as yet understand. And then many persons, of course, venture into the natural environment as a means of recreation to refresh themselves physically and mentally. Plastic pollution reduces the aesthetics of the natural environment, and this can impact our mental and physical health.
So what can a country do to minimize plastic pollution?
Firstly, the population needs to be aware of the impacts of plastic pollution and what they can do to minimize these impacts. So programs such as this, but once the awareness is created, then the public themselves need to have opportunities for the actual recycling of plastics. And this requires the setup of collection systems and processing facilities for plastic recycling. And of course, this is what the RePLAST-OECS project is doing currently.
Now let's see how much you remember. What percentage of the waste found in Saint Lucia is plastics? 20%? 15%? Or 30%? The correct answer is 20%. Which does not belong to this group of single-use plastics? Plastic forks, plastic spoons, pans, soft drink bottles, plastic straws, or plastic grocery bags? The one that doesn't belong is pans. This has been part of a series on the RePLAST-OECS project brought to you by Unite Caribbean with support from the French Republic and PAX GIZ.